and welcome to Live Now, the info show for technology and trends. My name is Ben Friedman, and we are lucky enough to be here today in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona at the Wireless LAN Conference 2020 here in Phoenix for the last 2 or 3 years. And we're very lucky to be joined today by none other than the show founder himself, Kieth Parsons. Kieth, thank you so much for joining us here.
Very glad to be here.
So it's actually been about a year since we were last here. We had an interview with you last year this time. Here we are, we're in a different hotel this year. What has changed?
We kind of maxed out the last hotel. We couldn't add any more attendees, so we hunted around. We actually tried to find within a day's drive of Phoenix, because all our gear's here, and ended up finding this hotel is still in Phoenix, and larger, more swimming pools, a lazy river, better rooms, and the conference hall is large enough to allow us to grow into it.
And I'm sure the question on everyone's mind is, how's the Wi-Fi here?
That's a delicate question. It's okay.
Wait, when you're a Wi-Fi guy and you have to come to a hotel, is that like the number one consideration, or do you want to do you set up your own network? What do you do?
So we've thought about doing that, but with our audience, no matter how good we did it, they would always have complaints. So we just use the hotel's network, and it's okay.
So you've got, how many people here? 300, 350?
About 350, yeah.
And they're all, a lot of them using the hotel Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And these are heavy Wi-Fi users, probably 2 or 3 devices each. Has it been reasonable? Would this be a hotel that you might have done the installation for, the site survey for?
I could have. Yeah. I didn't. It would have, just the cocky side of me said it would have been better.
Well, that goes without saying.
But no doubt. There's some things with public Wi-Fi, whether it be hotels or large public venues. You have to think, what are the requirements that they need? And this place was more about the financial side, that it's a money-making opportunity for a hotel, and that's what their business is. They didn't really make it, I like fast, free, and frictionless, to be as fast as possible. One of the features with Wi-Fi, the thing you have least of is something called airtime, that you only have certain frequencies to play with. And so one of the things that a lot of people who come from the route switch side, or in this case the hotel Wi-Fi, is that if I limit one person, then they're not going to steal from someone else. It's kind of we have a limited resource, which is how much bandwidth I give you. And then we want to divvy it up so you can only have a little bit. But in Wi-Fi, the thing we have least of is radio frequency. And so to save radio frequency...
is that a capacity issue rather than bandwidth? It's number of people?
It's not even number of people. It's to make it as efficient as possible. I want you to talk as fast as you can. You'll lose a little bit of time, and then we can have more people in. So capacity in Wi-Fi isn't the same calculation as capacity on, say, an Ethernet cable. What we need is airtime back. And so instead of limiting you to only use 10 meg, if I give you 1 gig, you will get off 100 times faster, which will give back the airtime for someone else. So capacity is about airtime, it's not about limiting someone. And that's a hard concept to share with some people.
Now, I don't want to keep harping on the hotel because it's a beautiful property. We're at the Hilton Point Squaw Peak here in North Phoenix, which is delightful.
Oh, and people love it. Teams go running up the mountains in the day, yep. Lots of places to play.
And as you say, they have a lazy river, which is generally like my number one,
That's why I choose that.
For a hotel.
And for the yoga people, they have a really nice yoga studio, so it's got a lot of good things going for it.
One thing that I know you are very big on is the idea that Wi-Fi should be a commodity like towels and sheets and whatever.
It's electricity.
And electricity. You don't pay extra for electricity at a hotel. It comes free with your room. You get electricity. Some hotels feel that it should be an add-on. You open up your captive portal and it says click here and we'll charge you $14.95 a day for Wi-Fi. And from the hotel's point of view, I guess it's a service like parking. I think parking should come free with every hotel, but it doesn't.
For many hotels it does. And
many hotels
it's whether or not it's a differentiator. And you would never expect someone to say, oh, you want a clean towel? We'll pay you. You can reuse your same towel, but if you want a clean one, that's $14.95 more.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
Right.
And yet they do the same thing with Wi-Fi. My suggestion is because some Wi-Fi salesman sold it to them. It's not like they're out there saying, oh, we should do this. Some salesmen went, hey, we found a way you can make more money.
But some people have breakfast included. Some places you pay extra for breakfast. Same thing with spa, same thing with parking, as I said. First of all, where did the Hilton fall down upon this? Sometimes I find, especially with Hilton properties, it's like halfway. If you've got a Hilton number, then you can get it for free. If you don't have the Hilton number, so they're not using it necessarily for money.
So
they're using it to
this hotel is
build up their
everyone
mailing
is
list.
free, but if you have a Hilton number, your Hilton H Honors member, you get faster access. So they're trying to say everyone can get it for free, but you get special access.
So that's sort of like everyone getting the continental breakfast for free, but if you want bacon and eggs, you pay extra. Where does
My example is more, everyone gets a towel, but no washcloth and no sheets. But if you're there, then you get sheets.
Yeah.
See, I think it's a base, just like you need air conditioning in your room and you need electricity.
So where do you fall down on the multiple tier then? Are you against that as well, or
You don't multiple tier your towels.
you don't multiple tier your towels?
You
That's
don't
true.
charge someone extra. If you want to charge your phone and an iPad, that's an extra charge.
I think we're all pretty clear on where you come down on that, and I think that's I mean, that's a reasonable way to be. And I think as time goes by, that fewer and fewer places will be able to charge for it.
And that's what we've seen over the last 20 years. It used to be everyone charged because it was a way to make money. And really the history
And maybe
of it,
recoup money because those hotels back then had to retrofit to put in the.
but the actual cost of putting access points and Wi-Fi in a hotel is fairly low compared to other. I mean, putting an escalator costs more.
Wow.
So as a cost benefit, but the history was, we used to, and hotels used to make a lot of money on long distance phone calls.
Right, that's true.
And so they lost that revenue. They used to make money on selling movies.
And everyone brings their iPad now.
Yeah, and so the places where they had this little bit of extra income went away because technology. They were trying to recoup some of that by selling something else.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I could talk hotels all day long, but let's get
off hotels.
Let's get back into some Wi-Fi talk here. I think one of the big things you and I talked about last year was Wi-Fi 6, and it was just around the corner. Is it here now? Am I using Wi-Fi 6 and not even realizing it?
It's still here. It's also around the corner. It's a little both. We're right on the transition.
Are we at the corner? We're at the cusp, would you say?
Well, so my iPhone 11?
Yes.
Wi-Fi 6.
Okay.
So I have Wi-Fi 6, but the AP that I'm connected to right now doesn't. So it's okay to have a transition for a while where some of the devices are and some aren't. It's not you have to have it to move forward.
Right, it's backwards compatible.
About every vendor today has a Wi-Fi 6 offering that you could take. If my recommendation to my customers is, if today you're going to be upgrading, your old equipment is end of life, 100% choose Wi-Fi 6. If you have Wi-Fi 5, and those are marketing terms, in technology we call it 802.11ac Wi-Fi 5, 802.11ax Wi-Fi 6. If you already have a decent working system and it's not timed to upgrade, there's not a huge differential to make that happen yet. But over time, what we've seen since the first iPhone came out is there's an adoption cycle that end users have, that they pick up a new iPhone every X number of years, and it takes a while for the new technology to get into the masses. And once it hits some critical mass, 50, 60%, then the new infrastructure gives you back all those extra benefits.
Right.
So every one of these, if you said, are we in, where we're in the face, it's an adoption curve. We're someplace on the adoption curve.
Well, and to that point, if you're using Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi AC, and you're a hotel, you're a stadium, you're a whatever, you're a store, is Wi-Fi 6 enough of a reason to upgrade? It's like if you have an iPhone 10, is the iPhone 11 enough of a reason to upgrade, or are you going to keep that for 3 or 4 years?
I would say if you are ready to upgrade, your old gear is end of life or something, maybe. But there's not enough differential for each phase to justify a rip and replace.
Right. So no one's going to say, because of Wi-Fi
wave.
6, I'm going to rip and replace.
Well, some people will say that.
Salespeople will say that.
Salespeople, the people who get paid for doing that, and that's continually one of our talks today was about our industry. Our industry currently is chasing curves. We had the first technology and another one comes, and we have to deal with that continual change.
Right.
So salespeople are like, we have to have something new to talk about. They couldn't say, for the next 2 years we're just going to be nothing. But on the receiving side, you're a customer. you can go 2, 3, 4 years with the old technology and be fine.
Right.
So it's where you are in the curve. I think for people who understand the curve, we've jumped the chasm.
Is anyone going to walk into the Gap or walk into the hotel and think, oh, look, Wi-Fi 6? It's invisible, really, right? Isn't it?
But some, like if you look on your AT&T phone,
yeah,
it has a 6 on there.
Oh.
Or they went 5, like we're going to 5G, but they put a 5E. So they didn't want to actually not tell the truth, but they wanted to entice.
Well, speaking of ease, another thing that I've heard tossed around that I have no idea what it is, but maybe you can explain it to me and anyone else who hasn't heard of it, is Wi-Fi 6E.
Oh, that's an easy one to explain.
Okay.
And I think it's a difficult thing to market now that they've said, the Wi-Fi LAN said, we're going to call this new thing 6E. It's Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax technology, but in the 6 gigahertz range. We currently don't have legal right to transmit in 6 gigahertz. We transmit in 2.4, we transmit in 5 gig, but 6 gig is assigned to someone else by the FCC and internationally all over. But the current chairman of the FCC and a whole bunch of people are working to open up that 6 gigahertz. It's over 1.2 gigahertz of frequency. That's a ton of area that we could really grow into. It's not legal to be there today. But the Wi-Fi Alliance was saying, well, we have Wi-Fi 6. What do we call it when we move to this 6 gig? Well, since we called it Wi-Fi 6, we can't call it Wi-Fi 6.
You can't call it 6G.
Yeah, because that
sounds like cellular.
That sounds like cellular. So you could call it 6.6, but then it's like
now it's
Route
the devil.
66. Yeah, that would be one more 6. And so they said 6E for enhanced, extended, something like
6E
that.
6E enhanced. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so today you can't buy handsets or access points or
but
even
there's a standard.
test gear.
That the idea is let's create the standard so that if the FCC guy, and I assume like the Alliance, do they lobby the FCC on that behalf?
They lobby, vendors are lobbying.
Right.
Every vendor is pushing for it because that chunk of frequency will give us huge amounts of speed and solve all sorts of problems. So it is coming, and they're just kind of ahead of the curve saying, if you think of adoption curves, they're not even on the early adopter part yet. But they're just saying, we see that coming, so let's give it a name and we can talk about it rather than say Wi-Fi in 6 gig. That's a long thing to say.
I never talk to you without learning something new. It's fantastic. Let's get back to the show for a moment.
Okay. We're here.
Here we are.
Yeah.
The first one, was it 2014, the first Wireless LAN Professional Conference?
I forget the dates, but yeah, we had one in Austin,
the first
Dallas,
one was the one in Austin, because we were there in Austin. And now here we are in 2020, so 6 years, more than 6 shows, because of course you do a European version of this show, you've done some Latin American ones, there are other places I know you're looking to expand. What would you say is the biggest difference that you've seen in the show? I know there was only 100 or so people there, now there's triple that here.
Actually, 4 times. So
there you go.
Which is nice.
It is definitely good. You've
like
had
that.
some great validation. The show's grown. There's obviously a need. But how are things? What's the biggest change? What's the biggest difference from 2014 to now?
Probably in that we have not just more people. That's an easy answer. That we have more. It's the mix. It was in the original. I probably of the first 80 people who showed up. There, I knew most of them by name.
Right.
They were friends. There were people I knew on social media. Now I look out and I still know that percentage, but there's a whole bunch of other people that are new to the industry that want to get in. And the comforting, I don't know if comforting is the right word. The nice part of it is the community is welcoming. Just one example that I've seen multiple times. People be standing around, in some evening event, talking in a circle, and a new person comes in, and they just open the circle up and let them in.
Wow, that's great.
As they should, but it's nice. It's nice to see that they're welcoming to add more people, people who were afraid to even attend and talk to anyone are now presenting.
And the demographic, has it changed? Has this become more of a less of a what am I trying to say? Less of a specialty, more of something where there's more diverse people coming in from different groups, as opposed to it being a very narrow segment.
Since we offer them in other countries, we don't get a lot of Europeans come to the U.S. They kind of stay there, but a lot of people from South America come up. We tried one Latin America one out of the 6 we've held in the U.S., and so there's a market down there. We do have a lot coming up from Latin America here. We have international people from all over attend, and we're trying to get the conference and this experience to more people in more places.
Kieth, that just about wraps it up for us. First of all, thank you so much once again for joining us here. And I have a little surprise.
Okay.
We actually dug up from 2014 a little marketing piece that we made for you
I
back
remember,
then.
yes, yeah.
This little
Sights and Sounds.
Sights and Sounds video. We dug that up, and so we're going to roll it here in a minute. You'll be able to see some very young faces that a lot of people, I'm sure, will remember. And then we'll be back right after that with a lot more from Live Now. But let's take a quick look at that little piece of memorabilia right now.
I'm Kieth Parsons, and this conference is called Wireless LAN Professionals Summit 2014. We're here with about 115 other wireless professionals, and the idea is just to get a conference for people who use Wi-Fi stuff, by people who use Wi-Fi stuff. We just get them all together and talk tech.
I would say the quality of the education has, surpassed my expectations by a mile. So it's been, I thought it's going to be good, but it's been fantastic. Probably the best content I've ever seen in a conference.
Yeah, the education's been great. To get a real-world experience and first-hand information from professionals has been really valuable.
To be a professional in your career, you need to have the right tools. So part of the attendee bag includes the tools you need: spectrum analyzers, packet analyzers, software and hardware you need to do your job correctly. So we included those in the attendee bag.
The attendee bag was amazing. Tons of tools, access points from various vendors that we can try and experiment with, put in our labs.
And then we also got a bunch of tools that we would use on our day-to-day jobs, such as OmniPeak from Wild Packets. We got IPA from the great guys over at MetaGeek, and we got Ekahau Site Survey. So there's a lot of great tools that we should be using in our day-to-day jobs.
Because wireless is such a small industry and everyone is so spread out, gathering in one place and meeting everyone, hanging out all day, learning, and then socializing at night, it's a lot of fun, and it really helps bring the community together.
Well, the networking is always the most important to me. I love to meet new people and hear different ideas.
I think it was all about knowledge. I don't think it was about beating each other up or saying this vendor is better than that vendor. I think it was about a sharing of knowledge for the betterment of the industry, and that was very important. It has been very important so far.
I feel really bad for the people who couldn't make it to the conference this year. We had a limited number of seats available, and they sold out within 2 weeks.
If you didn't come this year, I would highly recommend you coming next year, because the wireless LAN industry is really such a small, tight-knit community, and we really have no other big events to really kind of come together as a community.
If you weren't able to make it this year, what's wrong with you? And if you're planning on getting here next year, or you're thinking about getting here, I can't think of any better way to learn or advance yourself in the wireless industry.
If part of your job is dealing with wireless networks, this is the conference you need to attend.